welcome back to the shop. So I've got ITV 191. This truck actually showed up back in March, I believe. I did a video on it when a little while after it showed up, just kind of showing you guys what I do to inspect these when they show up. No, it didn't take that long to go through this thing. There were two other growlers in line when it got here. I went through those, got those trucks done and shipped out to their owners, and then I got to this one. This one, it was in fairly good shape. It just needed some of the basic stuff done, but it had some really screwy electrical and transmission issues with that, and I'll go over those a little more once I go into the truck here. So to get started, let's go ahead and lift up the hood. All right, so we did a basic oil change on it, engine oil filter, hydraulic filter, transmission. Well, it got transmission and transfer case fluid because I had to rebuild the transmission. We changed the differential fluid in it, made sure all the fluids are topped off. It's got a new hood strut, new fan belt or alternator belt, new glass. This one actually had a cracked windshield, and they were both fogged up really bad. So I just changed both pieces of glass at the same time. I just took the glass out. I've got a glass guy that does stuff for my heavy equipment. He cut me out some panels for it, and then I just installed those. So it actually looks really nice with new glass. Maybe that's something we should start doing to all these. Come back around here, get the shadow out of the way, put a new mirror on it. The mirror was completely gone. We are still just buttoning this stuff up. We had the whole relay board apart, troubleshooting a couple of electrical problems. We just had to pop that back together. This one will be here for a little while yet. The owner wants me to test drive it for a couple of weeks, just drive it around town and make sure that everything's good with it, that no surprises come up when he gets it. This thing's shipping all the way back to Florida, so it's not like he's going to want to send it back to me to fix little details. I had to troubleshoot an electrical system with the CTIS system. It actually had a plug behind the dash here unplugged. I don't know why. Somebody was in there messing around and didn't plug it back in, but I got that set up and working. That's all good. The suspension had some serious issues with it. I'll go over more of that when I get to the back, show you guys where the problems were. The knob was missing. I found a decent knob for it, actually. I've been looking for a good knob to fit it. It's a really small shaft on that switch. It's like a 16th inch or 8th inch, something like that. Yeah, so I put a new knob on that. I'd already had a key switch on it. The owner had already put a key switch on it, so we didn't have to mess with that. So looking underneath here, I still do have to mount the skid plate here. I had the drive shaft straightened. It was bent a little bit. You can see right there's some scars on the drive shaft from when it, from when the pan hit it after the forklift picked it up. It bent the pans. I put new U-joints on it. I'm just popping around here to the other side of the passenger side. I had to remount the transcomputer. If you guys watched the video of when this one showed up, that transcomputer was just hanging here by the wires, and it had a piece of duct tape on the back, and it was written on there, bad trans. So I remounted that. That works fine. That computer was in good shape. So we come underneath to the transmission, and you can see that that the transfer case it's painted, the transmission's painted. I had the transmission rebuilt at a transmission shop locally here because the inside on these 4L70Es, inside the pump on the transmission, there's a sensor in there for the torque converter speed, and that was shorted out. And that's like the third, fourth time we've seen that. So that was shorted out, and instead of just going in there and changing that, the owner just wanted to have the transmission freshened back up. So they put new accumulators, they resealed it, went through the whole transmission. It's as good as new right now. It only had like a few hundred miles on it, so actually was. The guy, when he went to rebuild it, he said, man, this thing looks brand new inside, except for sitting so long. So anyways, we fixed that stuff up. While it was out, I rebuilt the transfer case, and then I had an issue with the sealant that they sent me that I got from O'Reilly's. There was something wrong with it. It looked a little goopy when I was putting it together, and I don't know. I put it back together, and about 2 weeks later, it started leaking. I just looked underneath, and it was just coming right out of the seam. So I had to pull the transfer case back off, clean all that up, reseal it. So I've been through that transfer case twice now. But then we still had a transmission shifting issue with this thing. It still had what it would do. So when these things have any kind of electrical issue at all, a 4L70E, they go into fail-safe mode. And what that is you have park, you have reverse, you have neutral, and when you go to drive, from either drive all the way down to first, all you get is third gear. It's just a fail-safe thing so that you don't hurt the transmission, but you can get out of the way. You can get off the road. You can probably drive it home, depending on how far you are. But it wasn't doing that. That's what it did before, when that sensor was shorted out, and that's because it kept blowing the fuse. But then after going back together with it, it would go to second gear. I had reverse and all that, but I put it in drive, it would go to second gear. And then I would pull down to first gear, it would go to first gear. And I've learned a lot on these things now. So basically it wasn't getting a signal from the transmission output speed. And without that sensor, it's going to go to second gear, or without that signal from there, it's going to go to second gear. So, but then you can manually go to first on it. It took tons of troubleshooting to troubleshoot this. I actually bought an aftermarket trans computer for it to be able to test it. That took forever just because of supply shortages with stuff. They kept, telling me, oh, we're waiting on the harness. Now, oh, we're waiting on the chips. They're waiting on chips to finish assembling these things. I finally gave up on that one. I found another one. I installed it, and it shifts right. So then we start troubleshooting through everything. And what I found, this is the plug, the connector that goes to the transmission output speed sensor. And I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up. Let me see if I can get the sun beaming in there. Those contacts in there are really deep in that connector. And I looked at the plug on that aftermarket computer I bought, and those plugs, or those contacts, were right at the edge of the plug. And so I'm like, really, that's it. So I had another plug. I cut off another harness I had. I put that on there, and boom, fixed the problem. So that was hours and hours and hours of troubleshooting on this stupid thing. So that's all fixed. The transmission shifts great. There's no more problems on that. Did learn a lot about the system though, trying to fix this stupid issue right here. All right, now coming back to the back. The owner did send me a license plate for it, so it's licensed, it's insured, so I'll be able to drive it around and test things, make sure it's going to work right. So we added a battery disconnect. Like, I'm doing it to all of them now. We're adding a battery disconnect, new filter on the air compressor. Of course, it was just rotted. We had an issue here. In that other video, you could see there's a screw broken off right here. Somebody had a ground wire hooked to that, wrapping around over here, and it connected to some of these wires for the suspension issue, for this RideTech suspension system. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with that? Why is that on there? That shouldn't be. So I start looking at that. Then I test the system. The system's working all screwy. It was all messed up. So I ended up going down, and I took the dash. I had the dash open already. I went back to there and looked, and there's a ground wire for the suspension system that was not connected. It wasn't connected to the firewall where it's supposed to be. So somebody had taken and cut some of the wires on here and made their own ground for it with just a self-tapping tech screw that was loose, by the way, on just a crappy piece of wire that wasn't even, just some garbage wire. And so I took all that stuff off. I fixed the ground that was here, hooked the ground back up to how it should have been here, to the wire going up to the front, connected the ground to the front, and boom, the system's working good. So I don't know what happened. I think someone was working up in the dash there, probably trying to fix this transmission issues that this had, and they left the CTIS system unhooked, and they also left that ground wire off for the RideTech air ride system. So that's all fixed. We got that dialed in now. Also put new check valves on here, which almost everyone gets new check valves because they're almost always leaking. So we got that stuff squared away on this. And then coming back to the back down here, I might as well talk about the suspension a little bit, I guess. It's got 4 new airbags. The airbags are rotten all the way around. It's got new CV boots all the way around, all 8 of those. I got a hair on my head. All 4 upper ball joints. This one lower ball joint, we had to replace the boot on that one. Oh, hi. Say hi to Scrappy. Hi, Scrappy. Good boy. What's all this all over your face, kiddo? Huh? Anyways, and then it was missing the rear steer unit, so we put a new rear steer unit on. Got that plugged in, got that all hooked up, adjusted and stuff like that, so it's got rear steer again. It's also got new tires. The owner sent new tires. He just had them shipped directly to me from wherever he bought them online. Coming around to this side. We've got the air tank drain. I found these better air tank drains. I got a whole bunch of these. They have a bigger cable on it. It's a bigger drain. Nope, scared the dog. And it lets air out a lot faster, so you just get a quick burst. We put those on both tanks on this one. This bracket's broken. I still have a couple things just to do to this before it ships out, but I got to replace the exhaust bracket on this. Also, one thing, when we rebuild these, put the new airbags on. Even if I don't put new airbags on, when we're working on the trucks, I always purge out the nitrogen. And you can tell by the smell sometimes that they just have air compressor air in them. You can tell it's got a different smell than that the dry nitrogen would have. This had that smell to it. But anyways, we purged it about 4 times and then charged them up to the right pressure. All right, and that's it for this one. It's ITV 191. It's an M1161 Growler. And this one's, like I said, it's heading off to Florida. Go back to its owner over there. And it's a pretty good truck. She's in really good shape. Minimal rust. She's in really good shape. We've got all the systems working now. It was kind of a wreck when it got here as far as systems not working. It didn't have a transmission. It only had 3rd gear in the transmission. The air ride system didn't work correctly. The CTIS system wasn't working. It had a lot of issues like that. But overall, she's a good truck, and it's all back together. It's 100% now, and it's ready to go. So thank you for watching. If you would, please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do hit that subscribe button. And I thank you guys for watching.